Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today, believe it or not, finally, as we hit October 29th, we are finally starting to see signs of winter for the eastern two-thirds of the country. Now, if we go to the models real quick, the ensembles, they're not quite showing it yet, but I'll show you my reason why I think it is going to be showing up in the models the next week or so. Right now, this is our pattern. We have high pressure out east that's spiking all the way into central and northern Canada, almost to Greenland, but not all the way there. We have a trough and a low pressure system out in the west, and we also have our Arctic jet stream all the way locked up in the northern parts of Canada, and you also have our southern jet stream spiking right into the southwest, right through the Midwest, and into eastern Canada. That's why there's a bit of a drought going on in the eastern part of the United States. We've been having ridging, causing the jet stream, at least the Pacific and southern jet stream, to spike up well into northern Canada. And if we continue on, let me just erase the rest of this. Throughout the next week or so, you can see there's a trough pretty much trying to dig down into east, but the high pressure is too strong and it shoves it out into southeastern Canada. And then finally, we get a little bit of a relaxation in the ridging out east, at least according to the GFS ensembles. We have a ridge out west, troughing in Alaska, which causes the most of the cold air to get stuck in Canada. So whatever cold air that is coming down from Canada at this time, November 7th, according to the GFS ensembles, isn't going to be that cold. Because of this, our EPO is positive, keeping our Arctic air stored into Canada. As you can see, the isobars go down into Canada, but it goes straight outwards into the North Atlantic Sea. Now, if we continue on with this, we can see that our ridge does die out and then eventually move back east. And then from there, it looks like we have a relaxed pattern again. This is to November 14th, mid-month. Now, you may be saying, wow, throughout this 384 hours, I did not see a single hope for winter lovers out in the eastern two-thirds of the United States. You may be correct, but I just want to go back to the European ensembles real quick. This is next Tuesday, election day. We can see we do have a ridge out east still, trough in the Rockies, and a little bit of ridging out in the West Coast. You can see how different it is from the GFS here. You can see out towards November 13th, if we compare this to the GFS here, you can see it's completely different. The European ensembles have ridging in Alaska. You got ridging out in Alaska. You got a little bit of a ridge out in the West Coast. But you also see, if you follow the isobars here, it looks like it's trying to form a trough that comes down into the eastern United States. It looks like you either have a slightly negative or neutral NAO. Looks like you have a neutral to slightly negative Arctic oscillation, which allows cold air to come down into wherever into the United States. And having these two, a negative EPO, which is a ridge in Alaska, force cold air down once again into the eastern part of the United States, and a ridge out west, which also causes the trough to drop deeper down into the United States. We just go to the remaining frames of the European ensemble. You could see, if you just watch this right here, see how it starts to come down more, and the trough is more noticeable out east. I just want to see something real quick. I didn't look at this. It's not all the way there yet, but compared to obviously earlier and then now, you can see the cold air is starting to come down. You just go back to 500 millibar height anomaly again. You could see that there is a little bit of potential chance of this coming through life. If we go back, let me just go back one more round. You could see it had this at 0Z and it still has it at 12Z. That is a very good sign. Now, I will give you my reasons why I think the models are still delayed on this potential pattern change across the eastern two-thirds of the United States. If we take a look at our MGO, an MGO which is pretty much, I would say, an underrated factor that goes into our weather, but definitely plays a major role in our weather. Right now, it's been in phase 6 since about, let's say, October 24th. October 25th, it was officially in phase 6. You may be asking, what is phase 6 and what does it do? Phase 6, right here. This is clearly our pattern that we are in right now, ridging pretty much 2/3 of the eastern United States, pretty much right there, and maybe a little bit of troughing out west, which we are dealing with right now. Complete, in my eyes, complete toe-to-toe correlation right there. Now, if you go to phase 7, which then again with our MGO, it's pretty much a 2 to 3 week lag from when it enters the phase to the correlation into United States. Phase 7 is a transition phase. You finally get troughing back into the northern part of the country. You start to get ridging out in the southwest coast. What was the European trying to show? Ridging back in the west coast and troughing back into the middle part of the country. Once again, a 2 to 3 week lag. I don't know, I keep forgetting week, sorry about that. 2 to 3 week lag time. So if we get that, that's about mid month of November, which I fully expect a pattern change to come through. And then we go into phase 8, which clearly this is when we start to get our cold air come into the United States. I would say late November, early December, this is when we will get this across the eastern 2/3 of the United States, and then obviously get ridging back out west. And then phase 1, I expect this to come early to mid December, where you start to get a little bit of southeast ridging out here, but predominantly the United States is cold. Which, if we go back to the MGO, we could see that it goes pretty deep. I would say not that deep. I would say moderately into phase 8 and 1. And then it either goes back into the null phase, which it doesn't have a factor in our weather at all when it's in a null phase, or it goes back into phase 2 and 3, which that is also where our warmer pattern is. Now, if we take a look at our teleconnections right now, this is the jet. I'm sorry. The GFS ensembles once again. I don't know why they've been going at me today. I don't know why I can't pronounce it accurately. They're called the GEFs, which is the GFS ensembles. All right, so you get that. This is probably why the GFS has been so warm in the mid-month of November. You can see the ensembles start to go back to neutral, then it wants to go positive. All right, this is in the eyes of the GFS ensembles. NAO slowly creeps back to neutral. That is good. We like that, but we probably want to have that happen sooner. And then with the PNA, this is really good. It goes back to neutral. One, how should I put it? One index above 0 is positive, obviously. The more you get negative, the more more troughing you get out west, obviously, and then more negative, the stronger the ridge out west it becomes. It goes to 1 and then it goes back to neutral. All right, this is just according to, once again, our GFS ensembles. If we just pull it up one more time, as the 18Z is running right now, which is very good. We go back to North America and 12Z. This is probably why, if you connect all the dots to what it has negative PNA, slightly negative PNA. You have, I don't know why it's giving, let me just see this. I'm surprised it has a negative AO, but it has a positive AO on here. But all right, we'll go with a neutral to slightly negative AO, and then probably neutral NAO, which that's more like it, yeah. So in my eyes, the GFS and European ensembles are in a disagreement, but I would lean towards the European due to this. MJO always finds a way to factor into our weather, and it will do it again this time. I am Very convinced we will have a pattern change around this time frame, anywhere from November 10th to the 20th. I believe we will start to finally have troughing back, predominant troughing, I should say, back in the eastern two-thirds of the United States. This point and on. Now, it just depends on everything else if it wants to fall into line, you should say. Will we have a negative EPO and a positive PNA in this region? Will we have a negative AO and negative NAO in this region? If that all does happen, this area should look out for colder weather, and this area over here should look out for warmer weather. Now, this is to be determined once again if all these factors fall into line. But if I would to hedge my bets, I would say it probably will fall into line due to the MJO going into a favorable pattern for the eastern two-thirds of the United States. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will keep you updated on this, and if anything changes, I will let you know. Have a wonderful rest of your